I'm gonna hit that.
Well, they make it off the rich people because they rich people goes on and
Well, it started out whenever they first started out with the flip phones or the
Yeah.
the bigger phones where you could have them portably. My God, you was only given a certain amount of minutes, and if you went over those minutes, man, did they ever take advantage of you?
Mm-hmm.
Or if you went into an area where you was roaming, man, did they ever take advantage of you?
Well, they eat you up.
Yeah,
Take all your time.
eat you up.
Yeah.
So the way that they got it fixed up now is a little fairer, but think about this: whenever they invent something like this right here, do you know what that does to Kodak? Do you know what that does to all them other filmmakers out there that was dependent upon their technology to keep them going, keep them carrying? Well, it knocked them in the head.
That's right.
Now these kids every kid in the world's got a freaking portable telephone, and if you got a telephone, you got a freaking camera. If you got a telephone, you got an encyclopedia, and you also got a freaking dictionary.
Yeah.
You know?
And work on cars. You can punch that in there and it'll show you exactly how to put your fuel pump on.
Exactly.
All you gotta do is just listen.
Any different make and model.
Any different make and
And if you don't like that video, go to another.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't figure it out in one way, you can figure it out another.
That's it.
No, I just got through talking to somebody down the road here, Billy Earl. You remember Billy Earl's boy?
Last name.
Davis.
Okay. Robert Earl?
Robert Earl.
Yeah.
You and him about the same age, ain't you?
Yeah.
Did y'all go to school together?
Mm-mm. We worked for the same construction company one time. He lives over here in the country.
I know. I
And,
just got to come to my bar.
His sister lives right over there. Brenda.
Okay.
I mean sister-in-law, excuse me. His
Okay.
wife's sister. His wife, I called his people the wee people. They were Williamses.
Okay.
And they're all 4 or 5 girls and 1 boy.
Well, I was working with him whenever I fell off the 4-story building down there in Milan, August the 11th, 1979. He was actually my connected partner at the time.
Robert Earl.
Uh-huh. Sure was.
You remember, what was his name now?
I don't know, but he don't think nothing about Sonny Davis, which would be his daddy's brother. He don't think nothing about him.
You don't like him?
No, not at all. He said that they ripped Laverne. I guess it was Billy after Billy died. Must have stole a bunch of stuff from them. According to hear him talking, he must still have hard feelings about it because he don't want to talk nothing about him any good.
Well,
Of course, they're all kin.
I'm right the opposite. I used to think he's a pretty good fella.
Oh, he is. Robert Earl. I mean, yeah, he's a good guy.
I mean, the other guy,
Oh, Sonny.
Sonny.
Well, you know how it is. Closer the kin, the you know what the end.
Yeah.
You know.
See it?
Who knows?
See, he got them.
Who knows? Maybe Sonny may have loaned him some money a long time ago,
Yeah.
and he thought that was a time that he could,
Mm-hmm.
make it back or something. Who knows?
Yeah,
I mean,
Sonny, had his hands blowed off.
yes,
Heels blowed out.
right.
And
I told Robert, I said, man, you got to give the man a little bit of credit. I said he had the stamina to get back rather than just be a deadhead towards getting out here and working and welding and driving and going up and down ladders and lighting his own cigarettes and all the above. I mean, he done remarkable things with those hooks, didn't he?
He sure did. He sure did.
I mean, remarkable things.
I don't think I could have done it. I know I seen him sit there just like that with you. Pull out a pack of cigarettes, pull one of them out in his mouth. Right beside it was a little book of matches. He'd pull them book of matches out, carry one of them off,
right,
strike that and back there.
Sure would.
I don't think I could have done it. See, and that was all in a short length of time. But now he went through some money. He had a wife.
Gail? Who was she before she married him? Do you know?
No.
And where did he hook up with her at? Did he hook up with her here in Tennessee?
I don't know.
Or did he hook up with her up there in Chicago somewhere?
I want to say Chicago, but I don't know that. She was...
Well, he already had them boys before he ever moved back down here. He basically moved over next to Hillary Pennick's old house. Hillary Pennick. You remember Cecil Jackson?
Mm-hmm.
You could drive right down that road. and it used to be a house right there on the very end of it. Ain't nothing there now but a field. But that's where he moved first. Whenever they was resetting themselves back up here in Tennessee, and then the second place that they got was right down there below us, the old Dennis. Not Dennis Harrison. Dennis Harrison was the one that we bought from. That other house where it wound up being on the magazine, where it had the pond and the white bridge that went over it.
Yeah.
And they used to have baptisms and everything right there.
Yep.
That was the second buy that he bought whenever he.
Well, that supposedly burned out there, wasn't it?
It did later on. Yeah, about 5 or 6 years later, or maybe longer.
Well, he come into some millions there, a couple, maybe 3, I don't know, on that deal, on his knocking them. It was a high voltage burnout.
Right, 64,000 volts of electricity. I know all the story about it.
Yeah.
He actually loaned my dad brand new Cadillacs or Lincoln Continentals, whatever it was at the time that he was driving, because he'd done come into his money. Whenever my brother got killed over in Sidonia in 1976, us driving back to Memphis every day, he loaned us a car and handed him the keys. Said, "Bob, you use it as long as you need it."
Yeah. Yep. So I can't say that he's ever bad to me, and I don't know that he ever, downed anybody.
He never beat me out of a dime. As a matter of fact, I worked with him one time down there at Humboldt for the golf place, tearing down a building. He liked to do that old rough salvage work towards getting in there and cutting up stuff and welding it back and everything. And he paid me, just like any other hand. I think he made a mistake whenever Gail walked out of his life, and he wound up going to Pikeville, Kentucky, and he hooked up with that woman.
Well, I don't know.
Arizona. I think he made a mistake with her, even though she looked like a knockout at the age of freaking 50, didn't she? Yeah. I mean, at the age of 50, she looked 35, didn't she?
What I'm saying. But
But you know why she hooked up with him?
Money.
Oh yeah.
And Gail was with him a long time, and she went with other guys while she was going with him. That he bought that or had that truck stop out here.
Three Sisters.
No, truck stop on down north side. Used to be north side.
Top Hat.
No, north side.
I thought it was right beside Three Sisters. I thought at one time they opened up the Three. At one time that building that's the church right now used to be the Three Sisters.
It was. But before that it was construction. O.R. Morris and
it may have been
Compton, yeah. And then this was a station right on down the road. You just pulled in, got gas.
Okay.
It's called Northside at the time.
Okay. Did Sonny own that?
I think he did, or he rented it once.
I thought it was Three Sisters that he bought.
Well, he did. Probably did. A restaurant for her.
But he also owned this restaurant down here by Edmonds, down here at where the restaurant is. That truck stop right there used to be up and going.
Well, his was the gas part, I think.
Yeah, his was the gas part. Yeah. And then after he's couldn't make a go of it, somebody that used to live down there in Hop-In bought it and run it for years and years and years. And now the guy, I think he's still living, got a cattle farm over like going to Dyer, in between Dyer and Rutherford on the new highway over there.
I don't know where Gail went off to.
She died.
But
She
not
wound up
while he
going.
had
She
her,
wound
was
up going to Coleman, Alabama, and she wound up hooking up with another feller down there. She got married and wound up having another kid. Did you know she had another kid?
No.
Yeah. Scotty died at a young age. Scotty was the smallest one. He wound up going gay, and he got infected some way or another up in St. Louis, and cut himself or got punctured by a thorn or something. But anyways, his immune system was already bad, and because he was participating in that type of activity, I'm pretty sure that had something to do with a quick death, because he died, I think, like in the late 20s. But Scotty Mixon also died an early death that was married to the Mikowski girl. Remember him? He wound up having 2 kids, but Randy is still down there in Alabama. Randy liked Alabama so much, he's still down there. Now he ain't in Coleman, he's over there in Gunnison, Alabama. You been there? Ever been to Gunnison, Alabama?
Mm-mm.
Really? Go to Huntsville, Alabama, turn left, go about an hour and a half down the road, going back towards the Georgia, Alabama line, and it's basically right there on the corner to where you can look and see Eagle Mountain, and you can see the beginning phases of the Appalachian Mountains right there, and the Tennessee River actually is higher than the landscape, and it gives the appearance of like you're down in New Orleans looking at ships above you.
Yeah.
It gives that type of an appearance in Gunnison.
Mm-hmm.
And Gunnison is basically where the group Alabama started from.
Hmm.
My Home's in Alabama. Remember that song?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's basically where they shot up from. And they was talented. As a matter of fact, some of them still living, ain't they? One with the big beard. I think he sings a lot of Christian songs now.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen him playing for the Gaithers and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know. But yeah, Randy must like it down there because that's where he wound up at. Matter of fact, I just found out yesterday that my son is down there in Huntsville, Alabama, working, doing concrete work down there.
Hmm.
But getting back to Robert Earl, whenever my brother, right before he got killed, Robert Earl's sister, Twala, I know you remember Twala.
Lived right down here. I did. Yeah. And
She
lived
dead
up on,
now.
yeah, she lived up on, when she died, she lived up on
Right.
Dead End Street, yeah.
But they was sweet on one another there for a while, to the degree that they would have probably wound up getting married and having kids if my brother didn't wind up having that bad motorcycle wreck.
Twyla had a boy.
She had a couple kids after that. I think she had a couple.
I remember one boy.
I thought she had two. Maybe not.
And when he was born, he was as bow-legged as a cowboy. And the center spoke out like this.
Yeah.
For a while there, everybody see him, he'd be walking.
Right.
I guess
Bobbling along.
Yeah.
Kind of the way I walk. I walk like a daggum duck. Or a penguin.
Twyla was a kinfolks to the woman down here.
I always thought the world of Twala.
Oh, she was a good person. You know what I mean?
I always
she
thought
just
the world
made
of
bad decisions on her men.
Well, hadn't we all made bad decisions?
Oh, yeah.
Yep, she got used. She got taken advantage of.
Yeah, when she was young,
Yep.
they'd say that they had a little saying, Twyla will wallet for $1, you know.
Well,
so,
I mean,
you know, part of life.
but I mean, there's a lot of people who's made a lot of bad decisions.
Oh, yeah. Well, now, Robert Earl has he got a girl?
I don't know how many
I don't
children
think he's got any.
he's got.
And she had one.
I know he's done very well for himself as far as monetarily speaking. I mean, he's got two big dually Super Duty freaking trucks. He's got that big camper, probably worth $60,000-$75,000. He's got all that property all paid for, and, and plus he works sideline for some contractor with the Army.
That the property down there came to him sort of easily. Brenda put a double wide over there, right up on the hill by that yellow house.
Okay.
Right across from his daddy and mama, about her daddy and mama. And he come upon that after she couldn't pay or couldn't stay, one of the two, you know what I mean. And I think he put a double wide down in the bottom down there from that.
He did.
And then he sold that.
He did. He sold that and moved up the hill.
Yeah, to daddy and mama's house.
I don't know why he sold it. I don't know if there was profit involved or what the deal was. But anyways, he got rid of it. Now he's living over there where his mom and dad lives. And I guess he's just as content as anybody in the world.
And the brother-in-law.
You know, he's my cousin.
The brother-in-law.
Because my grandmother was a Davis.
Let's see, what was it?
Brother-in-law. He had a brother-in-law?
Yeah. Well, them girls, you see, all them girls, he was brother-in-laws to them. Brenda when she had a husband. And
I got you.
And
well, let me ask you something. I ain't the reason why I stopped up here. You know anything about the deputy, one of the deputies, or the cop, or somebody had a daughter that wound up running off the road this morning between here and Sharon?
Had a what now?
Run off the road
Uh-uh.
right there at Sheila's house, going around that corner where that old tavern, that old bar used to be right there.
Oak Park Inn.
Had to get a wrecker out there and pull it out of the ditch. She said she was just going too fast. And
His wife?
Lost control of the vehicle. I think it was his daughter.
Oh.
But I don't know which one it was. I don't know. I don't know who works for the cop services around here. Who's the deputies?
I don't know. Derek Coble is down there, but he's working for Union City now. I think.
Yeah, Derek Coble works over there.
And I was trying to think.
It may have been the chief. Does the chief has his family here? I think the chief come in from New York though. He probably don't have nobody here other than his wife, does he?
Here.
Yeah.
Chief, yeah, he don't. I don't reckon he does.
He don't have no people here, does he?
I don't think so.
I don't think he does neither.
There was another one. There's two of them come in here, and they're sort of half-assed friends, like Pennsylvania or something. One of them.
Okay.
And but I don't know any of their folks.
I got you.
Chief pulled me over out here at the dollar store one night.
Well, you probably had it coming.
Well, he was wrong, and I proved it.
How was he wrong?
When I pulled out, I got on the far side of the highway, and I drove. Well, he pulled in behind me, and he drove. When we got out about a mile, he blue lighted me.
Okay.
And I pulled it on back over to the other side and went in the, off the grass a little bit. He come up there, he says, "I guess you want to know why I pulled you over?" I said, "I'd sort of like to." Of course, he was new. I just met him one time.
Right.
And he said, "Well, Ray," says, "you're driving on the wrong side of the road. It's just against the law to stay on this side of the road." I said, "No, sir, not in the state of Tennessee, it's not. In the state of Kentucky, it is. You can't drive in the passing zone."
Well, it's set up differently in different states.
Well, yeah.
See,
if
you're in some states like Colorado, they got express lane.
Mm-hmm.
Other places got express lanes, and that express lane is supposed to be primarily for emergency vehicles, or if you got your vehicle, what is it? Whenever you're having passengers that drive with you.
Oh yeah.
What do you call that?
Yeah.
You can take that lane.
Yes.
In other words, there are certain times that you can get on that.
Nashville. Memphis and Nashville has that.
Yes.
That's on the express lane, like 5 or 6 lanes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And,
you're not supposed to be on that lane
unless you
got proper authorization of being on that lane. As far as driving on the left lane,
yeah. State of Tennessee.
I know the state of Tennessee. I got a ticket one time in Kenton whenever I was just a teenager towards passing somebody on the right-hand side. They was turning. They had the blinker on, and they was waiting on 2 or 3 cars, and I was in a hurry. And rather than me just sit there, there was enough room for me to go around them on the right-hand side. Just so happens there was a cop in behind me. Now, he nailed me for a ticket right there.
Yeah. Can't pass on the right-hand side.
Can't pass on the right-hand side. Mm-hmm. But now driving down a 4-lane,
just a regular 4-lane.
Just a regular 4-lane in the state of Tennessee. I don't think it's a law that you have to stay out of that lane.
No.
Now it is a courtesy lane that most people does drive on the right hand lane, but the way these daggum roads are falling apart, some of these daggum roads ain't fitting to drive on the right lane no more.
The trucks is usually in Tennessee has busted them all.
Yeah, usually the heavy stuff always stays on that right lane, and it's so daggum whomper jawed and broke up and stuff. It's a rough daggum road to be on, and a lot of times I will shift over to that left lane because it's a rough.
He went back and he didn't argue with me. He just said, "Well, I think I'm right." I said, "I don't think you are." He said, "Hold on a minute." And he went back and got on his computer, checked it out, and he come back. He said, "I was right and you was right." I said, "Who's going to write the ticket?" And so he said,
in other words, he was wrong.
Yeah. I told him, I said, in Tennessee we can, and that is mainly it's a speed lane. It's what we call a speed lane. It's because because people are going faster in that lane, and you can go 40 mile an hour in this other one if you want to.
Right. Right. Well, there's a minimum on that too as well. I mean, I don't think you can go no slower than 40, 44 or 45 years. Of course, they can't say nothing to none of these daggum agriculture people around here because you can put a 10-year-old kid in a $250,000 freaking combine and drive right down Reelfoot Avenue, and cop can't do nothing about it.
Well,
I mean,
unless he has a wreck, they
well, if he has a wreck, the farming equipment will be held accountable for it. But I mean, as far as it being illegal for that 10-year-old kid to drive that $500,000 piece of equipment down the road, they can't do nothing to that farmer.
It's like them 18-wheelers.
They can't do nothing to that farmer.
Like these 18-wheelers these farmers got, and none of them have
CDLs or have them inspected towards making sure their air brakes and all that other stuff is up to snuff.
But now they can pull them over.
But they're under, once more, that agriculture law.
Yeah. Well, see, Mark Cooper had the wreck out here. He went to Florida.
Yeah.
Well, see, he left here because of that. They about to tear his ass a new hole.
I know.
And he didn't have no lights on that damn thing. That guy got decapitated by running right under him.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, right out there, Jeter Thompson's. He pulled across the road that way, pulled across both interstates, both ways.
Yeah.
And turned back. No lights, no flashers, no nothing. And got him up.
Did the guy know him? Did he know him or anything?
Nobody didn't know the guy. They had to find out where he was from up north somewhere, and his people finally put the brakes on them.
Really?
And he got out of the business. Then he got out and got away from his brothers and whatever, you know. I didn't know.
Afraid it would endanger the whole.
Yeah.
The whole family industry.
Yeah.
Wow. I've heard something about that. I must not have been around here whenever that happened.
Yeah.
Whenever that occurred.
Yeah. It's not been that long ago, but it's been long ago too.
Yeah, I
think he's in Florida now or something.
Yeah. But now now his brother down there, he's doing real well. I mean, he's got all new equipment and three brand new grain bins, drive brand new vehicles. I mean, he must be doing something right.
No, you can get. If you're a farmer, you can borrow money that you don't have to pay back.
I don't know nothing about that.
It is. And it come through on like this other stuff, like these PPI loans and stuff.
I'm pretty sure you got to qualify.
Well, yes and no.
I'm pretty sure you got to be the right people.
I'm sure.
To butter up with the right person. That's the reason why my daddy wound up going bankrupt and probably 3 out of 10 did too as well back in the late 70s, early 80s, whenever the interest rate went up, fuel went way up. There for a while, interest was going like 24, 22%. You know, if a man had $1 million like Sonny Davis in the early 70s, he could actually make money off of $1 million and be comfortable.
But what he done was
he could be comfortable.
He bought Cadillacs and bought her Oldsmobile Cutlasses.
He blowed the money. He blowed the money,
yeah.
and it was confronted about him one time. Sonny, how come you doing like this? And he looked at him. He said, you know what? He said, what I went through was a life-changing experience.
Yeah.
And he said, I shouldn't be here talking to you right now.
Yeah.
And he said, I'm going to live every day as if it is my last day, and I'm going to spend my money the way I want to spend it. And if people don't like it, they can. Yeah. Yeah.
That's true.
And he did. It wasn't nothing for him to trade vehicles from here to Nashville just because he liked another Cadillac or a Lincoln Continental because of the color.
Yep.
He did blow a lot of money. Yeah. And at one time, he had every freaking cop in Weakley County down there at his house, and God only knows, I know I've seen probably at least 50 to 75 guns down there, every kind of piece of freaking military armory you could think of down there. And at the time, his son, one of his sons, Dwayne, would get into trouble. My God, they'd catch him doing 140 mile an hour in that Camaro or maybe that Z28 or whatever he was driving, and Sonny go down there and pay the cops $500 or $600 and pay him off.
Yeah.
And I don't guess it never wound up on his state record.
Still drove, didn't he?
Because he still drove.
That's right.
But now that costed his daddy a lot of money because it wasn't nothing for Dwayne to wound up getting in trouble with the law just about once a month or maybe more.
Well, that's the only thing.
They were gunning for him every time he'd go through town. They knew to watch out for him because he's liable to wind up pulling a slip one on them.
Yep. Well, they
And then whenever Randy got old enough to drive, basically he went through the same scenario with Randy. Randy had a wild streak too, like that.
they had that.
I mean, I had a
Person
little.
I knew of it that run a damn snowmobile down the highway.
Yeah,
Remember that?
yeah, I remember they had 2 brand new ones, Yamahas.
Running the piss out of
Come a big snow down here, and the winters was a whole lot different than it is now.
Mm-hmm.
And they wound up purposely going all the way up to Chicago and bought them 2 brand new snowmobiles and come back and had a freaking time on them. I remember because I was on them. I was riding on them. But getting back to the world's problems, man, what's going to happen with this guy, this Russian dude? I mean, has he done lost his freaking mind, or what's going on there? How come we ain't brought in a black ops and went in there and had that guy assassinated, or how come his own people had done risen up and created a coup towards taking him out?
Because them people over there,
they're brainwashed, ain't they?
yes, and they've learned since China, since the Tiananmen Square, that they will kill your ass, no matter who
You
you
speak
are.
against their government, and they
Yes.
will kill you, won't
Right.
they? It ain't none of this imprisonment, is it?
Mm-mm. If you go to prison, you don't get out. You're dead when you get there. I'd say over there, they
Right.
don't care. They don't care. And well, and it's like I say,
They don't have such thing as humanitarian rights in a lot of these countries,
they
do
don't have
they?
no rights. Period. If it ain't the government's right, it's not no right. I don't know. I think.
Well, you know as well as I do, they broke every ethnic rule in the world whenever it comes to them bombing them daycare centers and them hospitals and killing the civilian life the way that he has. And you know good and well that the Russian government knew about the Geneva agreement the after World War II. So whenever America says, whenever people like the president says that he has committed acts against humanity, he actually has.
Yeah,
He's nothing more than a terrorist, is he?
that's right. But he don't care. See, his people over there say, "Well, he's a great leader. He has got us this, got us that, but he's got them nowhere as such." You know what I mean? And we're gonna get in a bad situation if something don't happen with our leader.
Well, he claims that America cheated him.
Huh?
He claims that the Western world over here cheated them whenever Ronald Reagan was president, and he finally got the agreement towards ending the Cold War that was stagnating the rest of the global industries towards trade. Ronald Reagan accomplished that. Finally, there towards the last, and then in '89, or whenever it was, the Berlin Wall fell, and a lot of things took place over there. But now they also went through some horrible bad things too. Whenever that nuclear plant wound up, Chernobyl wound up burning up and doing what it done.
Well, he's threatening now to use that kind of shit on us.
Well, if the truth be known, that's probably the only reason why that they set back and they allowed for the Ukrainians to take over that property, because wasn't that property originally where that Chernobyl accident took place to begin with?
Somewhere in there, somewhere. Yeah.
Yes.
Nobody wanted it.
And nobody wanted it. And that's the reason why he let them go on over there and take control over it. And of course, in 2015, the way I understand it, 2015, there was a big clash with them over there. And the Ukrainian government at that time had nukes. They had nuclear warheads, and they was going to use them, which was going to start a major calamity in the whole sector over there with Poland and all those other countries,
Yeah.
Germany and all them other countries. And I guess our people must have convinced them that if y'all don't do that, we'll take care of you if something occurs.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it has occurred, and it's basically put us in between a hard place and a rock. That are you now going to man up and commit to your commitments that you made? But I guarantee you this: if Donald Trump was president whenever all that stuff broke out over there a year ago, the Ukrainian people wouldn't have a snowball chance in hell.
I don't know.
Trump would have turned his back on him, because Trump was already siding with Putin, and Trump was already playing with the Ukrainians because he wound up getting impeached over it. Remember that? He got impeached over that deal. Yeah, he got impeached over trying to basically blackmail the Ukrainians.
Well,
and our state senator Alexander said, yeah, he done wrong. What he done wrong, but it wasn't bad enough to kick him out of office.
well, they got this one now. Now the boy.
They're all dirty.
Where do you think all that money has came from?
They're all dirty.
Yeah.
They're all dirty in some form or fashion.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just afraid now, since they're bringing in, they have brought in some. They have impeached Donald Trump's daughter and his son, and I guess it's just a matter of time before they're going to wind up getting Pence. And of course, whenever you put people on that stand and they swear to oath, that means if they lie and the government can prove that they lied, you can actually go to jail for perjury for a long period of time, depending upon what the seriousness of whatever that they've asked you that you've lied about. That's the reason why most of them, whenever you ask them a question, I plead the fifth. Mm-hmm. I plead the fifth. Mm-hmm. I plead the fifth. I'm not aware of that. I don't recall that. Mm-hmm. I'm not aware. I don't recall that. I don't remember that. You know what I'm saying? Or I plead the fifth. I plead the fifth.
Because when they make a definite answer, they usually get proved wrong.
Yes, sir. That's the reason why they don't allow to be cornered up in a corner like that. Now, I think, if I'm not mistaken, the female, what's her name, Delaka or whatever her name is, Donald Trump's daughter, the blonde-headed girl?
Ivanka?
Yeah, I think she's already done spilt the beans and done already said some things that she's not going to be able to retract from. Because I guarantee you, whenever they get her up on that stage, they're going to press that little recording button and say, play. And they're going to have her on tape or whatever, data, and they're going to be able to play that to be able to say, okay, there's no way that you can deny that you didn't say that. Mm-hmm. So now what do you got to say about it? Because what they're trying to do is get down to the bottom of it, and you can't really blame them, because if they don't go after the people on top as well as the people on the bottom, basically you're just opening up yourself for another insurrection or a coup that's going to happen again, similar to that or even worse, that people are going to think that they can do it and get away with it. In other words, you're going to have chaos up there.
Yeah. Well, that's right.
If you don't hold some people accountable.
Yeah, if you don't put people's foot to the fire.
Uh-huh.
The only thing I say is on that insurrection deal, the officers there, most of them opened the doors and let them in. Their own officers. See, they've proven that now.
Well,
so if you let them in, they didn't break in. You know what I mean?
Well, if you think about it, if you're being confronted with a whole freaking army, basically a deluge of nothing but people coming at you, and you only got like 4 or 5 guys around you, and everybody's got pea shooters, where the problem started on that deal was the night before, whenever either Donald Trump or Nancy Pelosi should have gotten the National Guard already in place before that shindig ever took place.
Well, he told them that. Trump told them they need the National Guard.
So really and truly, it's Nancy Pelosi's fault. But then again, it's also Donald Trump's fault, because he's the president and he can order that type of order anytime he wants, especially whenever it's around that White House like that. Mm-hmm. So it's really both of them's fault. It really is. It ain't just Nancy's fault. It's both of them's fault. And to me, it kind of looked like it was staged.
Yeah, I think it was.
It kind of looked like it was staged, and that's the reason why I think a lot of people are like you, whenever it come looking at the police officers, and they basically either backed up or they opened some of those barriers up and said, well, y'all just come on in, and I think in a way it may have actually been planned to the point that it was supposed to have been played. Mm-hmm. They just didn't realize of how much hoodlums that was out there that was going to start breaking glasses and climbing on buildings like a bunch of daggone monkeys, and was actually going into the damn to the, what do they call that, in the center of the Capitol? Mm-hmm.
That's what it is on everything.
But what I'm saying is it got out of control, and I think, this is what I think now, of course everybody can think whatever they want to think, I think there must have been something to trust and dishonesty because whenever it was all said and done with, Secret Service actually had Pence outside, basically by the arm, telling him, get in the limo, get in the beast, get in the limo. And he thought about it and looked around and said, you know what? I ain't going with you. Well, there had to have been a reason why that he no longer trusted his own bodyguards, his own Secret Service. So something had to have been going on in that mind. Well, I don't know what it was, but something was going on, because whenever the very people that's supposed to be protecting you, whenever you refuse to go in there and get in, they call it the beast. The thing is, I guess it's bulletproof. Have you ever seen the doors on that? The doors on that thing's about that freaking thick. They claim it.
I think that the most of our people that we've got up there now,
I think it was a bunch of them, because the day after, Secret Service deleted all them freaking files. And I've said this all along. I know the rumors around here. Everybody and their brother has talked about Juby. Juby's supposed to be crazy. Juby had a bad raising. Juby was abused. Juby went into the White House with a sword, and Juby tried to cut off the president's head. I know the gossip, but I think that you know enough about me to know there's a bunch of bullshit. That whenever you say gossip, gossip is gossip. Now, did I get in trouble with Homeland Security up in the White House? Yes, I did. But it wasn't nothing over me walking into the White House with a sword. First of all, you ain't gonna get in the White House with a sword. But I will say this: whenever on my first crusade, I call it a crusade, whenever my son and I put those horses in the back of my truck and went to Washington, D.C., back then, you didn't have to have all this secret security. And back then, you could walk into a senator or a congressman's office. You didn't have to set up an appointment. All you had to do is be polite and gentle and wait. And if they could see you, they seen you. Okay, you just like walking into the mayor's office over here. It wasn't no big hoopla. Matter of fact, whenever I was there, I actually went down into the lower corridor where they got the little train tracks, the little dollies. They basically got security all up underneath the White House and the Capitol, to where it's like a maze up underneath there, to where they got these tunnels with these little trolley type trains, like they use in a coal mine. Yeah, that they can get in those things and go. It can take them anywhere if you know where you're going. In other words, it's a maze up underneath there. And back then, you didn't have to have security and all this other stuff. And did I get in trouble with them? Yes, I did. But the reason why I got in trouble with them was because I know that what they done, Ray, they went to war with Saddam Hussein, saying that Saddam Hussein had bombs of mass destruction, as far as nuclear bombs or something like that, and he didn't. The politicians in America lied to their own people to justify towards going to war with not only Desert Shield but Desert Storm too. And I think personally, between both of those wars is what antagonized somebody over there in plotting a bunch of damn terrorists to come from Saudi Arabia, hijack a bunch of damn planes, on 9/11. And who was the president during that time? The Bushes. The Bushes was the president.
Money talks on anything you look at.
Who went to war in Desert Storm and Desert Shield? The Bushes. See what I'm saying? So because of what the politicians done, they put a hex on the American people that caused basically 3,000 people to die. And like Donald Trump said, the American people still has not got down to the bottom of 9/11. And I promise you, they haven't. They have not. A matter of fact, if you go online, you can find out through FBI research that they have already pegged. Not only did the terrorist that was holding the planes hostage, like 85 or 90% of them come from Saudi Arabia, including bin Laden, but they have already done proven that the money was being funneled in from Saudi Arabia, indicating that it wasn't just bin Laden, And it for darn sure wasn't the Afghanistan people, because the Afghanistan people ain't nothing but a bunch of sheep herders to begin with, or goat herders. And at that time, they did not have the financial means, and they didn't have the smarts to pull something like that off.
Remember that guy that
It come from Saudi Arabia.
They come over here and cut him up. Oh, shit.
The journalist over there, the New York journalist over there, yeah, put him in little suitcases.
Yes. Put him in a barrel and whatever else, cut him up.
Yeah, cut him up.
Seen him go in.
Never come back out.
Admitted to killing him, but there was nothing about it.
Uh-huh.
So, a sugar, something like that.
Well, not only that, but just within this past last year, the Saudi Arabians made the United States government make them exempt to where they could no longer be persecuted by the United States government, not only over the journalists being cut up, but also over 9/11. So they've already done twisted somebody's arm towards us signing a declaration, some sort of a legal document, by saying we can't go after you physically and actually arrest you or hold you accountable for that. Now, since 9/11, they've opened up a brand new venue pertaining to lawsuits. You can sue the piss out of them. You can sue the piss out of them over in Saudi Arabia, but what good is money? What good is punishing them with money whenever it's funneled to them over there by the freaking 18-wheeler loads? And Donald Trump was right. We never should have allowed for OPEC to come into an existence pertaining to giving to Saudi Arabians that type of power and that type of authority with all them oil wells over there, because that's the very thing that was financing all the terrorists, not just those that attacked on 9/11. See, the Twin Towers, the Twin Towers was attacked whenever the 51-day standoff took place down there in Waco, about 2 or 3 weeks before the Waco incident happened. They'd done already bombed the lower quarter of the damn Twin Towers and done. I think it was something like 15 or $20 million worth of damage. So it already been hit. Twin Towers done already been hit. But do you know why the Twin Towers was hit?
Just to show us that they could destroy anything we had.
No. You're wrong about that. The Twin Towers represented the bloodline to our financial stability. That's where all the wheeling and the dealing went on at. A matter of fact, there was another area, Charlotte, North Carolina, that had almost the same type of dominion over sales and finance institutions. You can't hardly go nowhere in Charlotte, North Carolina, where the NASCAR racers are from. You can't hardly go nowhere without major banking institutions over there. And they really thought that they was going to be hit. They thought that they was going to be next. Because they was so dominant in the money handling. You know, trading 10 chickens for one goat or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Kind of like the stock exchange. The only difference is a stock exchange has its own dominion. And it's basically open dominion. And of course, you know as well as I do, you know good and well, the inside trading goes on everywhere. You know, they arrested Martha Luther, whatever her name was, that had that, what was her name? That cook woman that cooked and stuff and had that magazine? Martha Stewart?
Yeah, Martha Stewart.
Yeah, they got her for inside trade. But truth be known, that goes on not only on the upper end, but it also goes down on the lower end, because I guarantee you, if somebody like Randy Brundage knowed that a bunch of people from China or whatever was coming down there and they had the ideal that they's going to open up a new factory, okay? And of course, who they going to go to? They're going to go to the top man, right? Mm-hmm. And Randy knows that he's got a buddy, and I'm just hypothetically speaking here, he's got a buddy that's got 200 acres on the other side of town.
Mm-hmm.
And he points those people from China or wherever, those investors, now I got a buddy over here that's got 200 acres, and I know that he'll sell it.
Mm-hmm.
And he'll sell it for a decent price.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in the meantime, he gets on the telephone, he calls up his buddy. Now, you're going to give me a pull off this, right? I'm gonna get a little off this, right? And sure enough, that money goes up underneath the table, and it's never talked about.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff like that goes on all the time.
Oh, yeah.
So whenever you talk about inside trading, that's a joke.
Much like these places.
That's a joke.
It's like these things have been bought. These companies have been bought here recently. The mayonnaise company, whatever.
Well, the majority of them, whenever, just like our governor, he'll wind up letting all them factories come in down there at Smyrna, Nissan, Toyota, Mercedes, whoever, and he'll promise them, hey, guess what? It don't matter how much profit you make or how much profit you don't make, you're guaranteed not to have to pay no taxes for the next 10 years.
Yeah.
And that ain't right.
Yeah, they do that.
That is not right, just to be able to bring in a deal like that. I realize that you're accommodating a great deal of people, maybe 2,000, maybe 3,000 workers, but at the same time, why can't the rich pay their fair taxes like everybody else? They should be. I think taxes should be set up in every state just like Tennessee taxes is, to where not only the poor has to pay the taxes, but the rich has to pay the taxes too. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
That's the fairest way of doing it. You know it?
Mm-hmm.
The poor and the rich has to pay the taxes. But whenever you're a big guy like that, like Donald Trump, I don't think Donald Trump's paid taxes in the past 20 freaking years.
It has, but it hadn't been proportionate. If you they've got so many places they can put stuff.
Hide it.
Or buy it.
Hide it. That's kind of like
That's right.
offshore accounts.
Yes.
You can take money and bury it in an offshore account somewhere and then flip it and laundry it back. It's called laundry, and bring it back into the States, and you didn't have to pay a dime pertaining to taxes.
Well, like we was
Not
talking
a
about,
dime.
that's what we was talking about a while ago on the farming deal. See, used to we had combines we pulled behind a tractor.
That's right. Back in the old days, I remember because that's the way we got our crops out.
That's it. But now they've got so many big ones and so many row ones, and they get a cut to buy that, and they never had to pay it off because they'll turn around and say,
Well, the farmer's no longer independent like he used to be. The farmer now works for John Deere, Massey Ferguson, and he also works for all these soybean companies and all these other banking institutions. That's who the farmer works for. The farmer ain't no longer an independent businessman like going out here and opening up a building somewhere and getting your license to cut hair. And if you got license to cut hair, you can charge them anything from $2 a head to $22 a head. You know why? Because it's your business, and you can charge whatever you want to in your business. And if you create an established repeat business as far as your customer base, can't nobody do nothing about it. But now these farmers, but it's the same way with the body shops. The body shop now, the major body shops, they depend probably 95% of all their work comes from insurance companies.
Yeah.
So in reality, the body shop owner is not actually independent no more. He's actually working for State Farm, Farm Bureau, and all the other major corporations out there, because their hands is tied.
Yep.
Their hands is tied. They're in the loop. Once you get in the loop, you basically got to play by their rules, because now they're the monopoly.
That's like the John Deere place over here. They come in there and told the Vincents, we'll either buy you out or put you out.
Well, I didn't hear that.
Yeah, John.
Really?
I talked to him. Yeah, he did, but I talked to him.
Who was giving him that type of squeeze?
The company,
Governor, mayor?
No, the company itself.
Oh, the company itself. I got you.
See, they coming through. It's like you're.
In other words, he wasn't following their protocol. He was still acting independent.
Yeah, you can sell. I can sell this combine for you $1,000 cheaper than the guy down yonder.
That's right.
They don't want that, so they took that. Remember when all these car dealerships?
They have monopolized that business. It's the same way with anything. You ain't going to have one Chrysler dealership bidding against another Chrysler dealership.
Not more.
Not no more.
Used to they had. You could buy one at Beard Chevrolet at Kenton or wherever,
and they'd give you a heck of a deal on it, because
right.
They got a heck of a deal on getting a package.
Right.
Instead of just getting 2 or 3, they wound up getting 22 or 23,
right.
And because of it, they got $8,000 off each vehicle, and because of it, they had room to play. Now the conglomerates has come in, and now they are in control of even your dealerships.
Yep. In
other words, your salesmen, they can only go so far in what kind of a bang up job that they can actually do for you.
It's like this And
that's not right neither, is it?
most of your dealers handle 5 different brands. Used to use a Chevrolet dealer, or use a Ford dealer, or use a Chrysler dealer, or something like that.
They've done the same thing in the medical industry. You know, back whenever we had a problem, we go to Dr. Jack down there at Kenton.
Yeah.
And he was basically a do-all.
Mm-hmm.
He could set a bone or sew you up or give you medication
shot,
for flu or
right.
or help somebody in a birth or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
you know. They just called general practitioners, and now everybody now is a specialist.
Right.
You know, you got to have a specialist for a nose. You got to have a specialist for if your toenail hurts. You got to have a specialist if you cut yourself and you need somebody to sew it. You got to go to a specialist, a bone specialist, a cancer specialist. Yeah, everything has been compartmentalized just within our lifetime.
Yeah.
Within our lifetime.
Yeah. But the doctor down here, it's gone. He's gone.
What was that guy's name?
What was his name?
Robertson?
Huh?
Robertson?
Uh-uh.
Robertson was the guy that was the undertaker, and Robertson also was the mayor, and Robinson, I guess, had his name and had his money in just about everything, didn't he? Wasn't he also a principal at one time?
Roberts was one of them.
Yeah, wasn't he? He was a big shindig around here, wasn't he?
Well, see, this school, when I went there, it was bigger all the way down in different compartments. That's the only buildings left right there. Rest of them burned up and tore up and gone.
Is that the only original school
That's the
whenever
only
it built
original
way
part.
back in like after World War II?
That was the ag shop right there.
That's right.
And see, most of the teachers that come in this area were affiliated with the bank and the city, and their brother or uncle was a store man or something like
Now
that.
this is going, you know that.
And that's the way they got it. That's the way they got it.
But it's always been the few, the 1%ers that controlled the 99%ers. And they can say what they want to about our democracy, and there's no doubt America's got a whole lot more rights towards doing things than most any of these other countries do. But the bottom line is this: I don't care if it's Republican or Democrat, it's going to be the wealthy, the hases versus the has-nots, and the hases are going to continue to have what they have, and they're going to make sure that the has-nots are going to struggle to get on top anymore. I mean, it used to be here in America, if you had the right concept, you could become a millionaire.
Mm-hmm.
A matter of fact, over in China, they claimed that over there before COVID hit, they was basically accomplishing 2 millionaires a day. A day in their investments. They're probably not doing it now because of COVID's got everything all upset and upside down. But still, I mean, if you got the right plan, you got the right item, and you got the right working force, you can go in there and make yourself a bunch of freaking money and basically buy yourself an island if you want to, you know?
Yeah, they went back to capitalism instead of socialism and communism.
But we have been taken over from the inside out. And you can see that through the various stuff that you're talking about, regardless whether it's John Deere, your dealerships, or your medical industry, you know? We've been taken over from the inside out because we have allowed for the conglomerates to come over here. Well, look at Walmart. Walmart started in 1961 with one person. 1961, Sam Walton opened up his first store. And you know how much Walmart is worth today? Almost $600 billion. And they're growing $30 billion a year. Knocking down retail stores everywhere, all over the freaking world. They got over 2 million employees. But then look at UPS. UPS is worth almost $400 billion. Billion, not million. It takes a million. What is it?
A million to make a billion.
Yeah, to make a billion.
Yep. If we had all the money to sit here and count, we couldn't count to a billion.
Not in our lifetime, I don't think.
But we couldn't count it anyway because it'd be beyond our scruples.
Capacity. It'd be beyond our capacity,
Yeah,
wouldn't it?
yeah.
Besides that, it would take so daggone long. It'd be like counting the stars, wouldn't it? So where are we going to go with this war? Is it going to get worse?
Yeah.
Is it?
It's going to get worse. That's like you said about Walmart. Walmart's going to go down after they changed the Made in America slogan.
Right.
To me, they went down.
They did. They did.
And so now they've got lots of money, but they changed even Sam's stuff.
Yeah.
Everybody's taken over. Nobody's
Well, I
part of
think
the
the
business.
way that I was told is that Sam Walton's family that was in control of everything, and they was the ones that basically gave the farm away towards going to all these other different places, and that way the consumer could get a flat screen TV, $75 cheaper than what they could have been on American-made TV. But what I was told is that they have leased, or not leased, but sold too much of stock to the point that they're no longer in control of their own store.
And they're going to lose them. They're going to lose them stores because, well, if you go over to this one,
You always have to maintain at least 51%. You always want to be in control of whatever that you are in control over, because after that, you're no longer in control over it, buddy. You know it? In other words, they've done backed themselves up in a corner, and I don't think they're going to be able to get out, do you?
I don't think they will ever get out. I think they'll have to sell out or go down.
Uh-huh.
They're blaming it on people stealing. Of course, that's always been, and they've had, and now they've got people in there that are watching you. Of course, they got people that are not doing anything. And now you call over there and you can get your stuff delivered to the front door. See, it's not like it was when people used to go in there and find their stuff.
Everything is about convenience.
Yeah.
You surely you figured that out.
Money costs more to get it.
But it's about convenience. In other words, if you own a piece of property and it's at the right place at the right time, you can become a millionaire just because it's at the right place. It's about convenience.
It's like corner lots. Like you say, a corner lot
Yeah.
is more than a regular lot.
Yeah, do you own all that lot in behind here? Does your property go all the way back
No.
to the road, or does it just go back to the,
Walking track.
huh?
It goes right there to that walking track. See, they got a walking track around there. They come in here one day and hooked up to my water, jerked it out of the wall with that roller, and I had a water leak. And they were going around with my damn hose on the back of it.
You're kidding.
I stopped them. I said, "Who told you?" They told me. They told me.
So the city owns that.
Mm-mm.
Who owns that property right there?
County.
County owns it. How'd they get a hold of it? What used to be there? Wasn't there a couple houses right there?
There's 5 of them, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Right. Back a long time ago. So somebody with the right money and the right influence wound up buying it and choked it out. See, that's what's happening to us right now. Our businesses are being choked out from the inside out.
Did you hear about the one that was out here, and it's underneath the underpass? One of their buildings burnt. Used to be on the highway out yonder going out towards Dresden. They set some fires and it caught the inside of fire. Pallet place.
Really?
Burnt that up over there. Right there on that corner.
Well, I know there's a pallet place right down the road here where they
Used to
store
be.
plants.
This sold out too.
It has.
Yeah, it's
So who owns the building now?
maybe the place at Greenfield. I don't know.
Well, that's a lot of freaking building right there, ain't it?
Well, see, the city had a chance to get that, I think $30,000 worth of taxes, and they could have it. Oh no, we don't want that. So got in there. Nelson
Really?
bought it. He turned around and sold the place.
You know
out
what
here.
messed us up? When it was doing real good after World War II, we was #1 in everything. Agriculture, medication, car manufacturers. During the smokestack revolution, we were doing real good until they invented the computer. Whenever they invented the computer, that's whenever the world, yes, shrunk. But also, that's whenever America had to start competing no longer with who we wanted to compete with, but now we had to compete with everybody.
Yeah.
And that's whenever Clinton invented NAFTA about free trade, but nobody said nothing to nobody about fair trade. And they basically gave the freaking farm away, Ray. They gave the freaking farm away. And I think it all started after the assassination of Kennedy.
Well, they're still trying to figure out really who done that.
They know who done it. People up there in Kentucky had it done. It was the mob. Whenever Kennedy flew over that piece of property up there in LBL and declared it a total loss, basically, and told them people to get off. They had such of a industry up there, moonshining industry, selling moonshine to the people in Indiana and the people in Chicago. I guarantee you, whenever that happened, it wasn't but about 45 days later that man was dead. You know why? Because somebody said, we want him dead. Somebody said, we want him dead for doing this, and they done it. And you know what? CIA actually knowed about it. One group of people knowed it was going to happen that was actually involved in it, and another group of people was trying to stop it, and the group of people that was trying to stop it couldn't get there quick enough to stop it. And getting back to Secret Service, I know for a fact that Homeland Security, they just don't protect our diplomats over here. They're not just into the big stuff pertaining to making counterfeit money and stuff like that. We got to protect their people over there, because if a diplomat comes over here and something occurs to their people over here while they're over here, then that could start an international incident. Vice versa. If we got people over there doing wheeling and dealing and something happens over there, it's going to start an international incident. So basically what we have, and a lot of people don't know this, and I tell them this and they laugh at it, but what we have is a government within a government, and it's actually Homeland Security that is in control of our own government. So whenever we put these people in power that's supposed to be put on the mantle so we can look at them, first of all, that's all we're going to be doing is looking at them, and that's all they are, is something to look at on the mantle, okay? But theoretically speaking, they're nothing more than puppets, and they do what they are told to do. They say what they are told to say, and they respond the way that they are told to respond. That's the reason why I think that the deal with the war, going back to the war, going back to basically the top of the pyramid, some of your wealthiest of the wealthiest people, the Fortune 500, basically Bilderberg, and all, masonry and all that other stuff. I think it's something else that's being orchestrated. I think they're going to make it look like that the Russian parliament over there has lost their minds, and I think one thing is going to lead to another thing. But at the same time, I think there are certain people over here in America that has done already strategized it. They know it's fixing to happen, just like they knew that 9/11 was going to happen. You see what I'm saying? So, in not just theory speaking, but literally speaking, we got people right here in our government entities, regardless whether it's county, state, or federal, that's actually working for somebody else. They're not working in our favor.
Shouldn't stand there so long.
Strings is being pulled, man. You hear what I'm saying? And it ain't us that's pulling them. It's somebody else. It's the Illuminatis, the Masons, Fortune 500, the richest of the richest. That's what I'm saying. You can change the mantle and put whatever you want to up there to look at. But ultimately, whenever it's all said and done with, it's going to be the 1%ers against the 99%ers, and I guarantee you the 1%ers has already got it figured out for what they're going to do and how they're going to do it before they ever get around to doing it. And they're going to walk on people like us and stomp on people like us, just like what happened in the 70s. And I know you can validate this in the late 70s, early 80s, whenever they raised the price of crude oil, interest rates went out of sight, and what did it do? It caused thousands and hundreds of thousands of small business owners here in America to go belly up. If you was farming anything from 60 acres to 150 acres or even 250 acres, you was gone. You was gone. You know why? Because you couldn't compete. And that's whenever your mega farmers started coming in here. People farming, 15, 2,000, 5,000 acres. And if you go out west, my God, they're farming more like 12 and 15,000 acres out there. It's got to the point now out there, or probably even over here, you're probably better off just to lease out a combine for a year.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Or a cotton picker that costs almost $1 million. Just lease it out. Mm-hmm. So who actually is in control of the farming industry? It ain't the farmers, is it? You know who it is? The money people, the investors. Mm-hmm. Yeah. We've gotten too big for our britches. And we've basically let the fox not only protecting the hen house, but now the fox is actually in the hen house. And the fox is chewing up the hens and destroying people. And I guarantee you, every time, as far as I'm concerned, the oil, petroleum companies, all of them should go to jail. There's a stray dog. I don't know whose dog that is. Mm-hmm. Looks like a good-looking dog, though, don't it?
Yeah, we didn't used to have many in town, period, there.
He ain't got no tail. Somebody clipped his tail. Somebody stole his tail. Anyways, how many times have we seen the oil companies either tell us, it's an oil shortage, it's an oil shortage, or they've played with us by raising the prices up and then settling them back down again. And every time it settles down, it's always 50 to 75 cents to $1 more than what it was before they ever played that little act. They have done this to us now how many times?
Lots of them.
Huh?
Lots of them.
Probably 5 or 6 in our lifetime, hadn't they? Mm-hmm. In our lifetime, we've seen it. That in the meantime, whenever they do that, they destabilize everything. It's kind of like taking a bunch of cards and just mixing them up. Well, in the meantime, you're going to have people that's going to fall through them freaking gaps. You're going to have people that if they wasn't financially sound, or if they wasn't strong enough, or if they didn't have the right keys going on, they wind up losing their freaking shirts. Yeah. Well, you know who winds up coming out on top? The finance agencies, the banks. They confiscate those homes. They get that property, and then they flip it again.
What happened right up here? Weeks ago, the old big red house.
Yeah.
Set her out.
Well, it's just like all that tornado damage up there in Dresden. You don't think that there's probably 4 or 5 people that's gobbled up? Ain't no telling how many freaking properties up there. And they'll turn right around and they'll hire cheap labor, Mexican labor, and they'll build them a house, and they'll have maybe 110,000 to 120,000, maybe a little more than that now because of the labor rate and materials. But let's say they got 140,000 and it's right there in town. You don't think that house, with it being brand new, is going to be more like 175 to 200,000? Sure, it will be. Why? Because it's convenient. It's right there at the right place at the right time. And that's what the rich man preys on. He preys on the weak, the feeble, the depleted. And like I said, whenever the oil companies, I don't know if you know this or not, for sure you do, Exxon, Valve, Shell, all of them made more money last year, profits, than ever recorded in history. Well, you know what? Hell, they freaking jacked the freaking prices up to $5 and $6 a gallon. Matter of fact, in some places it's still $5 and $6 a gallon out west. And diesel really never went down, has it?
Mm-mm. And diesel's a byproduct of making gas.
Yeah, diesel at one time was the byproduct of making gas. And you used to get diesel a whole lot cheaper than you could gas. But then they played us off again. And they told everybody, if you'll go out here and buy you a diesel, go buy you a diesel. Everything will be fine. Everything will be fine. And then as soon as everybody got hooked on the drug, what did they do? I had a preacher tell me, whenever I first come back to Tennessee in 2014, somewhere over in Rutherford, I went to a revival. And he got up talking about the government. And it was kind of unusual to hear somebody get in behind a pulpit and actually talk against their own government. And of course, if you do that in other countries, you're going to wind up dead. But the way this guy explained it right down to a T, that basically it's not no different than it would be, and this is all a reflection point towards going to the mark of the beast, a one world government, towards people being in control of other people's lives. That it's the same differences towards taking a dope dealer that sells heroin, and all of a sudden you got not only customers, but you got suppliers. Well, if you'll play it off right by not getting hooked on your own product and getting other people addicted to that product, then you can start making demands to your whores that come up there and they want an 8-ball. You tell them, well, I'll let you have an 8-ball, but before you do, you're going to have to give me a blowjob.
Yep.
So basically, what are you doing? You're holding people hostage. You're blackmailing people. And I think that's what our government has done towards putting out all this free money, all these entitlements and all this other stuff. They're getting everybody hooked on it, right? A freebie. And then one day, they're going to pull the daggum biscuit out of their mouths and they're going to say, okay, we'll still give it to you, but the only way you're going to get it, you have to jump through this hula hoop and right. This hula hoop and this hula hoop. In other words, that's whenever the mark of the beast will come into play towards your 666. And if you don't take the mark, according to the Bible, if you don't worship the beast, or if you don't take the beast number, you will no longer participate in any activities towards not being able to buy nor sell. That's where all this is going. Now, right now, the conflict with America currency versus Russia, Yugels, and all these other different types of currencies, right now the conflict is who's actually going to be in control of the currency. But we know for a fact what the currency is going to be because the Bible's done already said that the day is going to come whenever they shall take their gold and silver and throw it into the streets because it will basically be worthless. So you have to ask yourself a question, if they're going to do that to the effect that they're no longer going to be bartering with it, what are we going to be bartering with? I mean, it used to be you traded 10 chickens for one goat. Well, Uncle Sam wants a part of that goat. Uncle Sam wants a part of those chickens. So what are they going to do? They're going to transfer everything digitally right here, to where if you make a sale, if I make a sale, it don't matter if I buy a lawnmower from you, we make an agreement, $50, I'll sell it to you for 50 whatever. Well, the only way that you're going to be able to make that transfer is that you're going to have to put that money in my account. And the only way to put that money in my account, it's going to have to go electronically. And whenever it goes electronically, guess what? It can be recorded. It can be followed. To where cash right now, cash is basically cash. I mean, you can't trace cash in a sense because I mean it ain't like it's got some kind of electronic device on it.
It does, hundreds.
Well, I mean, to that degree, yes, but I'm talking about literally knowing whenever transactions are made, regardless whether you're buying a whore or you're paying a Mexican to work in a field for basically half the price. I mean, right now, and buying drugs and selling drugs, all that stuff is all syndicate money, man. That's all syndicate money. And you know what? If they was to stop all that right now, you realize what kind of commotion it would cause? My God, that's the only reason why America's still America, is because of the black money, the dark money. Don't you know that? You know, it's not really fair because you know who's paying the brunt of the blow? The labor force. The people out here working for a living. Those are the people that's paying their taxes on the front end towards whenever they get paid, and then they got to be out taxes on the other end towards the stuff that they buy. And you wonder how come people want to get on a fixed income from Uncle Sam. Well, it's very obvious. You actually are better off on a fixed income because at least what money you're getting, you don't have to give it back to Uncle Sam.
Well, they'll get it though. They're going to do that too. They're going to tax whatever they get you to, whatever those checks.
Well, they probably will. I mean,
they're going to do it.
Well, I mean, I do know this, that a lot of these organizations, these big churches that own 7, 8 jets worth hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars, I don't think it's right to be passing a plate around and basically unaccountable money because they can do with it whatever they want to. Now, I will say this about Kentucky with their churches. It's mandatory that if the county decides to go in and want to audit that church, they have to show their records towards how much money that they've gathered, how much money that they've spent, and what they've spent it on. Now you can open up any organization, a nonprofit organization that you want, and you can put whatever little tag that you want on your bass boat and say, well, it belongs to the First Baptist down here, or a jet and say that it belongs to the First Baptist. But if it's not legitimate, the way Kentucky's got it set up, the state officials can come in and hurt you. And that's the way it should be on every state. You know, we talked about state rights last time I was here, and there's nothing wrong with state rights because, you know, every state has its own pros and cons. You know, you're not going to bury people in Louisiana under the ground because why? Because they're flooded, because, you know, it's mandatory to bury them above the ground. Just like you're not going to, let's say, put in piping down in Atlanta, Georgia, or down in Florida and bury it 14 to 16 inches in the ground because you're afraid it's going to freeze. Why? Because we're in a different environment up here. Just like you're not going to be able to put in plumbing way up north and only put it 3 inches in the ground because it's going to freeze, right? So each state does have a benefit whenever it comes to state rights. But some of this stuff in having their state rights, just like you was talking about a while ago, being able to drive down both sides of the road, either or, and it not be against the law, there's certain things that really and truly should be across the board towards everybody participating in the same way because we're all the same people.
I think they're trying to get us these electric cars for the reason too.
Well, the next thing you know, they'll push that off on a whole lot of people towards offering all these incentives. And then when everybody gets hooked on the stuff, you know what they'll do? They'll make demands. And then people has to abide by the demands or they'll be knocked plumb out of the saddle. That's what the 1%ers do. They plan it out in how they're going to do it. And I personally think that somebody gave Putin a green light and said, go for it. Now, with his lies and deceit, basically, he didn't realize that what he was going up against, first of all, was going to be that strong because he actually thought that he was going to defeat him in less than 72 hours and that they'd basically be kissing his feet because of the way that he hammered them. He had no idea that the world was going to turn on him like it has turned on him, which is a good thing in one way, but it's also a bad thing in another. And you know why? You know why? Because I've always been told, and I know you have been too, you can run a fox to his home, but you ain't going to run him from his home. And if they keep on badgering them people over there, you know what they're going to wind up doing? They're going to wind up pushing them big buttons. Yeah. There's not a doubt in my mind. And if you'll study the Russians, they go all the way back to the freaking Vikings. They go all the way back to the barbarians. They're very brutal people. We're not talking about goat herders here. We're talking about some educated, smart people. And they got the bloodline in them, the DNA, to basically be aggressors, to wanting to dominate, to wanting to rule the world, kind of like Hitler. And I'm like you. I think it's gonna get worse before it gets better, don't you?
Sure enough, said about the Walmart deals and a whole lot of deals. Things are gonna have to go down because you can't pay these people $15, $20, $30 an hour to sit there and look at it.
Well, you know, unions is a good thing. Unions help America out a whole lot whenever it comes to having exits, fire exits, having this and having that, being able to be protected because of the employers that was using people. But the unions also done a bad thing because they jacked up the labor forces so daggone much to the point that it basically forced retail stores to reach out and go sweatshops over in China to get stuff a whole lot cheaper because our labor force was already out of balance. Like I said, whenever they created the computer and we started working on a global network versus a chosen network, that's whenever we started getting in trouble, and that's whenever you started seeing factory after factory after factory after factory, just like Donald Trump talked about. He said if you drive around the countryside in a small little plane, he said it looks like tombstones. He said you'll see one building over here that used to accommodate 400 or 500 people that's totally empty. You'll see another building over here that used to have 2 shifts that accommodated 1,200 people. It's empty. Why? Because we've been sold downstream. And our politicians fattened their pockets for the past 30 plus years, and they have let this happen to us. So why wouldn't they create a diversion or allow for a diversion to create itself by a major war? That way, instead of people thinking about what really happened and how they got hoodooed and who actually hoodooed them, now all of a sudden we're going to have to be thinking about survivalist over here towards a major conflict, towards possibly everybody getting radiation poison, towards dying of freaking nuclear whatever.
That's true.
See what I'm saying? It's being, like I said, it's like taking all them cards and shuffling them up. But you know who's doing the shuffling? The rich man, the top of that pyramid. Halliburtons, Fortune 500s, the wealthiest of the wealthy. And I still think that we have allowed for Saudi Arabia to get such of a bite in America. They've got almost $1 trillion worth of investments over here. They're not just investing in synagogues pertaining to Muslim churches, Muslim worshiping centers. They're investing in schools, they're investing in libraries, they're investing in roads, they're buying up all kinds of property. We've allowed for them basically for the wolf to get in the hen house. So now what are we gonna do since the hen's in the hen house? We just gonna sit there and struggle and let them kill us all one at a time? Are we going to finally stand up, Ray, and say enough is enough? Because it's going to take a unified effort for us to get back to being number one again, and I don't know that we ever will.
I don't think that the people are unified enough anymore. They don't have the balls anymore.
Well, if you're rich, birds of a feather flock together. Money attracts money.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why Donald Trump made such of a big splash whenever he come down that elevator declaring that he was running for president. Money is attracted to money.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's how money makes money, is with money. I know you know that.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't have no money and nobody never gives you no breaks, odds are you're going to be a poor you know what the rest of your life.
That's right.
Unless you get some sort of a favor or some sort of a break. Uncle dies and leaves you a piece of property somewhere or leaves you some money somewhere, odds are you're going to continue to be a nobody all your life. Why? Because the 1%ers has set it up that way. So whenever Donald Trump talks about the system being rigged, it's not just the legal system. It's not just those that can't represent themselves being in one world towards having to settle for public defenders versus those that can hire a top-notch Donnie Cochran attorney, which is another world. It's not just in the legal system, but it's also in the financial system. It's rigged. It's rigged to where now the common person, like me and you, we don't stand a snowball chance, and you know what, towards ever getting on top. You know why? Because that's how they rigged it. That's how they got it made. Listen, I'm fixing to go, man. It's a beautiful night to be right here in the middle of freaking February. Actually, it's kind of freaky to me with it being this freaking warm, because you know good and well we're going to pay for it down the road.
That's going to change in the next couple of weeks.
Well, have you noticed all the freaking apple trees and peach trees and all the blooming? And you know good and well if it comes another cold snap on top of them, what it's going to do, it's either going to
kill them.
It's either going to kill them or set them back. I'm going to say the way that they're blooming today, as warm as it is today, we may not have no peaches and pears and apples this year.
Well,
I'm serious, because Mother Nature has went on a freaking frenzy, hadn't she?
Well, they decided.
You see all them blizzards up north of us?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They decided what? Ray, they're not telling us the truth, the scientists. The scientists are not telling us the truth.
No.
They started out with cows farting. Then they went from aerosol cans, then they went from R12, R134, and then they went from that to having to put all these catalytic converters on all these cars because we was damaging the ozone. In other words, what we was doing to the upper levels of our atmosphere was controlling the lower levels of our atmosphere. That's not what's doing it. what's doing it is the petroleum products is taking that oil, taking that pool of oil down to the point that that oil was put there for a heat shield, and now the heat in the center of the earth is escaping. And just within the past 25 to 30 years, there's been, I don't know how many volcanoes, and like 90% of them are under the freaking oceans, and all that volcano activity that's coming up. You know how hot it is whenever it gets to us? 1,172 degrees. You know how hot they claim it is in the center of the earth before it gets to us? 10,000 degrees. It's supposed to be the same temperature as the freaking sun. But whenever you're draining all that oil, plus oil was put there for a friction reducer, whenever you add friction, you're adding heat, and the heat is coming from the bottom. Have you not seen all the rivers and all the waterways that's drying up all over the planet? Old train sounds good, don't it? Put you to sleep at night once you get used to it.
I don't never hear.
Probably don't. But they've been lying to us for quite a while. Plus they've been playing with us, and now it's done caught up with all of them. And I'm telling you right now, the war in Ukraine, they're fixing to set it up for a major distraction. Because you know why? Because they know they have failed the people. And once the people are onto them, then they have to worry about and overthrow the same thing that almost happened January the 6th. That, if the truth be known, probably should have happened. I don't agree with the way that Donald Trump was trying to make it happen, but eventually that will probably happen again. You know that, right? I mean, whenever the people get enough of this, they'll eventually stand up, but then it may be too late.
That's fine.
They may have them already addicted to their whatever that they want them addicted to.
Mm-hmm. That's what it'll be.
Kind of like a drug dealer. Mm-hmm. In other words, yeah, I'll still give you the 8-ball, providing that you're willing to do this, this, and this for me. Mm-hmm. Huh? It's all part of being in control. And it goes back to the Bible towards the New World Order.
That's what they're calling it now in some places, the New World Order.
They are. But you know what my opinion about that is? They need to take control and fix the old world order before they worry about the new world order. You know what I'm saying? But I don't think it's fixable. Do you?
Well,
I think it's too far out there now.
It takes a long time to create anything usable.
Well, you know, money in a way is a religion, don't you? It's a religion, because we've been taught that a $5 bill is more valuable than a $1 bill, and a $10 bill is more valuable than a $5 bill. You could do the same thing with red marbles. Red marbles is going to be worth $20. Blue marbles is going to be worth $5, and white marbles is going to be worth this amount of money. It's all based upon what you believe, what you're taught, being indoctrinated. You've been indoctrinated in believing that. So that means that, yeah, your goat's more important than my 10 chickens. So I'm going to have to sacrifice 10 chickens to get your one goat. That's right. It's the only way you go. Huh?
Look at them eggs now.
Ain't that the truth? Is that not crazy or what? Talk about jabbing the freaking public. You know, it started out with toilet paper, right? Mm-hmm. The shortage of toilet paper. Well, have you noticed when you go to the grocery store now it's very common that the product that you was accustomed to may not be there.
That's right.
You may have to settle for something else. Well, that right there is the beginning phases of what we're fixing to walk off into. And of course, everything's based upon supply and demand. Whenever you got more of a daggone demand than you do a supply, guess what they're going to do? They're going to jab us. They're going to hold us up. Mm-hmm. It's going to get to the point that actually living on this planet is going to be more demeaning than dying. And that's the way they're twisting it and turning it, to the point that it's actually more favorable to die than it is to live, because it's got to the point now that most of us, we can't afford to live and we can't afford to be buried. So we're kind of in between a hard place and a rock to begin with. Damned if you do and damned if you don't. And the further this thing goes along, the worse it gets.
Yeah.
Don't it?
You're right. You're right. Now.
So who's in control?
Wish I knew.
Satan, Lucifer. The Bible says that that Satan is the prince of this world. And he's been the prince of this world, and don't you think that he's making heyday right now? That freaking guy's jumping up and down. Because he knows that he's done put the squeeze on everything and everybody. He's going to wean out the weak. Going to sift them. Going to sift them. All we can do at our age is just pray that our children and our grandchildren and those won't hold us accountable for what has happened here. Because one day when we all stand in front of God at the white throne judgment, there's going to be some very serious questions asked that's going to require some very serious answers. And if we can't come up with those answers, I'm just afraid we that's made a mess out of all this may be held accountable. Because you know good and well, little Johnny and little Sally, they're going to be demanding for justice to be played because of what was given to them. They have inherited this freaking mess because we let it happen. I'm trying my best every day by putting out literature and putting out information, YouTube, Facebook, whatever. I'm trying my best to get alert and basically unite the people. But I've been trying to do that now for 30 plus years, Ray, and I think you can validate that. I've been trying to rally the people, but didn't nobody want to believe me? Didn't nobody want to get in behind me? They had all these freaking rumors spread out everywhere that I was of this or I was of that or I was, you know what I'm saying? Of course, they probably got rumors about you too out there. I mean, once you get a certain age, you're going to have enemies, right?
Let somebody else down.
Yeah. And if they're not talking about you, as my grandpa used to always say, they're letting somebody else rest.
That's right.
Because people talk. People talk. Men talk about women. Women talk about men. People talk about the weather. There are certain things that you just can't stop people from talking about. But yeah, if they're talking about you, they're letting somebody else rest. So you think it's fixing to have another cold snap come down?
Oh yeah.
In other words, winter ain't over with, is it?
But it's going like it's been going. We're having the heat coming up, cold coming down, bunching together, they're blowing up, tries again.
I know. Have you seen all the tornado breaks that's happened in the South this winter? They've had like 3 or 4 or 5 different major tornado happenings down there.
They said something about we was going to have one the other night, and it didn't happen, you know.
Well, that didn't happen, right. The elements just didn't come together just right. And I guess it's gotten to the point that they rather put out false information than not put out no information and then be held accountable.
Right, 50-50.
Right.
Got a chance there.
Right.
If you say it's going to rain tomorrow, and it rains, you did good.
Right.
Goes tomorrow and you just barely sprinkle, it still rain.
Well, if it don't do no rain, well, at least we prepared you for the worst, right?
Right.
Because everybody now is all about accountability, holding people accountable. But no, I've never seen the weather so offbeat. I think this year, as a matter of fact, I heard on a newscasting thing this morning that they're now starting to say that this year in America has been one of the warmest winters that America has ever seen. And I know it's kind of deceiving because, you know, whenever we got like 6 below and we've had 2 or 3 other different events that happened, but it didn't stay. It was only here for 3 or 4 days and then it turned right around and it went back the other way. And it went back down and it went back up, yo-yoing. And to me, it's worse than it would be if you was up north somewhere and it got cold and it stayed cold, because once your body gets regulated to the cold, you can halfway deal with that. Now, you think it's hard with us, right? Because we take off clothes, put on clothes, take off more clothes, put on more clothes, right? It's kind of hard on us, right? Well, don't you think it's harder on them rabbits and them deer and them squirrels and anything else that grows winter fur on it?
Yep.
And then all of a sudden it gets 70 degrees.
They don't know what to do.
They don't know what to do.
I hear you.
To me, Mother Nature right now is lashing out just like a baby in the floor throwing a tantrum. She is wreaking above us and below us, pretending to. Have you ever seen such an earthquake?
Well,
45,000 just in one freaking country?
well, I expected there to be a bunch down here at Griffith Lake. But
Yeah.
of course, we've been expecting it for years.
Yeah,
You had your thought.
one day that's going to happen. Whenever it does, it's going to be twice as hard. You know why? Because they've taken all the trees down. The forestry is no longer here to help keep the root system intact.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever it does, it'll be just like a freaking ocean.
Mm-hmm.
It'll just wave. You know what I'm saying?
That's the way it did that time down there. Supposedly.
Well, that's the way it did over there in freaking Syria, didn't it? See, I didn't know that they had shallow earthquakes versus deep earthquakes, and they had different kinds of earthquakes. Sometimes the earth goes up and down this way, but sometimes it goes 3 foot this way, 3 foot that way. Well, if you got a 10-story building and you went 3 foot that way, and now the building has to catch up with itself, and it goes 3 foot back that way, and then all of a sudden the ground shifts again the other way, that's like a pop and whip motion. You wonder how come those buildings didn't stand? It's because the type of earthquake it was. I mean, it was a powerful earthquake, but we've had powerful earthquakes before that kind of registered before that didn't do a third of that damage. It's the type of earthquake. If it's a deep earthquake or if it's a shallow earthquake. And whether or not the earth's going like this or whether or not the earth is going like this or it's just rolling up. You know what I'm saying? Because there's different types of earthquakes. But I still think that, did you not see that big fault, that big crater that was over almost 2 miles long? 75 foot deep. I don't know how wide it was, where basically the ground just gave way. You know what used to be in that hole at one time? Oil. And whenever you take all the oil out of the ground, you create all these pockets or cavities. And then whenever the ground does shift, it actually shifts abnormally. It shifts abnormally because now it no longer has the what word am I looking for? The buoyancy. In other words, you know what's protecting Florida right now, pertaining to their sandy foundation? The water, the ocean level. If you used to drain the ocean, all of a sudden, 20 foot, you'd see freaking buildings collapsing on top of one another, pancaking on top of one another. Yeah, one right after, because Florida's the worst place in the world to have sinkholes. Well, you know what holds all that stuff together in Florida? The water base. You take the water base out, what do you think's going to happen? Bingo. Holes. Sinkholes. They've had places in Florida that swallowed up freaking whole neighborhoods. Whole freaking houses gone. Whole houses gone. Same thing happened up here in Bowling Green at the Corvette factory that I helped build. The freaking floor show gave in and took out I think it was about 20 different Corvettes. But everything around there stood. Our work stood. What created that hole? I guarantee you get to looking, and somebody probably up in that area is an oil petroleum pumper. They pump oil everywhere, especially out west. Texas, Oklahoma, Wyoming, all up north. Yeah, but they do it right here too in different places. Right here it ain't that much, but now you go up in Kentucky, yeah, Kentucky got a lot of oil fields.
That's where that coal come in.
What do you mean the coal? How did the coal get here? Through the oil? By the oil? Well, they used to say back when me and you was going to school, the dinosaurs produced the oil.
Well,
Dinosaurs didn't produce the oil.
They just made a body that...
That oil was already here, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
The oil was already here. Matter of fact, I seen a thing going back 250 billion years. No, 450 billion years. The way that the Earth used to be, and it was basically just like the sun. It was a hot Botalata, and then 400 million years, it got a little quieter. Then it went down to 1,000,000 years, and it become like greenery, and then it past several thousand years, 50,000 years, it sure enough got green. But you know what the end results in that model that I was looking at is that it's all going to dry back up, and all the oceans and all the seas drying up, just like the Bible talks about. The river Euphrates will dry up, and that'll cause 1,000,000-man army, and the blood will get as deep as a horse's bridle, according to Revelations. And you got to ask yourself the question: if something's going to happen to the effect that it dries up the Euphrates River, don't you think it's going to dry up all the other waterways and all the other rivers? Sure, it will. So what this model showed, the model showed for it to get dry, and then it showed for the planet Earth to go back to its original state, towards being nothing but a fire and brimstone. What didn't the Bible say? That God won't destroy the world again by water. Next time He destroys it, it's going to be by fire and brimstone. That's what's underneath our freaking feet. Mm-hmm. If the truth be known, we're just on an outer skin, kind of like an orange. Mm-hmm. And what goes on below us, we have no earthly idea what's going on below us. You know what? We think we do.
Who was it that said that they tried to drill a hole to the center of the earth?
They say it's about 3,000 miles down there.
That's what they was trying to.
Huh?
He said they was trying to drill a hole down that far, and they got down so far and quit.
I don't see how they got a bit that big view. Mm-hmm. But they do got sonar. We do have equipment that can, like the oceans and stuff. We now can go down into the abyss, where oceans are like 6.5, 7 miles deep. Deep. That's a lot of freaking pressure, ain't it?
A lot of water.
That's from here to freaking Martin. Here to Martin deep. Could you only imagine the Titanic going down? Titanic did drop about 1.5 miles. You know that, don't you? Yeah, when she dropped, she went down about 1.5 miles.
And,
That's way on down there.
That's way on down there.
That's way on down there.